Even though the draft was very unpopular, American leaders truly believed that it was necessary to fight communism. In this clip, President Lyndon Johnson explains why he felt it was necessary to increase the draft. This clip accurately shows the plans for the Vietnam War and the increase in the draft. It is a primary source and is a direct speech from the president. It is difficult to tell how reliable the information is because President Johnson was always concerned about his political popularity.
Arriving to make known his new decisions on Vietnam, President Johnson explains the reasons for his actions in these historic words.
We intend to convince the communists that we cannot be defeated by force of arms or by superior power. Convinced. In recent months, they have greatly increased their fighting forces and their attacks and the numbers of incidents. I have asked the commanding general, General Westmoreland, what more he needs to mounting aggression. He has told me, and we will meet his needs. I have today ordered to Vietnam the Air Mobile Division and certain other forces which will raise our fighting strength from 75,000 to 125,000 men almost immediately. Additional forces will be needed later, and they will be sent as requested. This will make it necessary to increase our active fighting forces by raising the monthly draft call from 17,000 over a period of time. Once the communists know, as we know, that a violent solution is impossible.
The military draft during the Vietnam War deeply divided the American public. The war was unpopular to begin with, and the idea of forcing men to go and fight for a cause they didn't believe in enraged many of America's young people, which in turn caused riots and protests that sometimes became violent. This clip from a 1967 newsreel accurately shows the broad cross-section of American society opposed to the war. It also shows some of the anti-war movements and protests the draft created. One of the most common forms of protest for the draft was burning of the draft cards. Many men would burn their draft cards in protest of the draft. People would do almost anything to avoid being drafted, even if it involved being arrested.
Anti-war demonstrators protest U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War in mass marches, rallies, and demonstrations. Marchers include students, housewives, beatnik poets, doctors, businessmen, teachers, priests, and nuns. Before the parade, mass draft card burning was urged. Demonstrators claimed 200 cards were burned, but no accurate count could be determined. Reporters and onlookers were jostled away on purpose.
This clip is an interview directly from Muhammad Ali, one of the most famous draft dodgers of all time. He explains why the draft seems unfair to American minorities. Muhammad Ali's feelings and actions and comments about the draft are an accurate representation of how many Americans felt about the draft, as shown by the anti-war movements and protests. His voice was heard because of his fame.
He was drafted, and then he refused induction on the grounds of his religious convictions on war.
My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some darker people or some poor, hungry people in the mud for big, powerful America and shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality, raped and killed my mother and father. Well, I'm going to shoot them for what? How can I go shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people? I would just take me to jail.
While fighting imprisonment for his stand, Ali was also stripped of his title, denied a license to fight in the United States, and denied a visa to go overseas to fight. He was in a much tighter financial bind than most were aware of.